Welcome back, everyone, to the Sacred Trial, part of the Pro Qualifier to the True Silver Championship, sponsored by Game, happening at the end of August in Birmingham. I'm Raven, and obviously still here with me is Lorinda as we continue the rest of the games for the evening. We have Eloise versus Chakki coming up, so we can quickly review the bracket just to give you a brief update and outline of the way these matches are going to go in the going forward. So as we can see, the players have gone through the first round of this 8-man bracket, and these 4 remaining players, 3 of them will be invited to the Insomnia Championship, and 1 of them will not. So the players who win these next 2 matches will definitely be going through to join, as you can see on the right, Ostkaka, Neyman, Firebat, and Gara. And the losers will go into one final match to decide who gets that last spot. So it's going to be a bit of a tight one for these guys.
Yeah, everyone who wins a game from here on in goes to Insomnia. And some poor person is going to lose 2 games and not go and be really, really miserable. But whatever happens, we're going to have a great lineup of invitees. The names you just read out: 2 world champions, European champion, top 20 money earner. And then add 3 of these 4s to that, and you've got a fantastic lineup. Throw in next time's champion, throw in 8 open qualifiers, and the qualifiers for the top 16 previously have all been pretty powerful players. Like Swiss doesn't let bad players qualify particularly easily. Throw all that together and we're in for a great tournament already, whatever happens here.
Yeah, it's going to be really awesome regardless of what the turnout of this tournament is, as we already have some amazing names and some amazing names going to join them. But the next matchup is going to be Eloise versus Chakki, with Eloise with her Warrior, Shaman, Warlock, and Magelet. The Magelet probably being the most interesting one overall, and Chakki with his Warrior, Shaman, Druid, and Warlock. And yet again, we've seen both Warriors banned from both players. So, becoming a bit of a theme, at least in this tournament so far, is Warrior taking the brunt of those bans.
Yeah, and you explained that well earlier. Like, you can't build a lineup to deal with Warrior because Warrior is not one class. It's like 7 different classes under one name. You just can't build a lineup to deal with Warrior. So a lot of the time, you just have to ban it out. You're not able to deal with, unless they bring the specific deck and you know it's that specific deck that you can deal with. You just can't plan for Warrior at the moment. So banning it out is a good strategy, I think, for most of these players.
Yeah, so as we said, probably the standout deck for Eloise is this Mage deck, which is the sort of slower version of Tempo Mage, with the Cabalist, for example, and some of the more late-game stuff knocking around. What would you say Chakki's standout deck is in terms of his lineup that he's got left, at least?
So it's going to be interesting because he's got Cthulhu Druid, and that deck for me is, apart from the fact it's a little bit weak against Zoo, maybe, it's basically a deck that is a skill-based deck. It's a 50-50 matchup against a lot of decks. And so we could see that go either way. Obviously, that's how 50-50 works. And I think that's the deck that will decide how this matchup goes. How the Cthulhu Druid performs, I think, is the deck that will make all the difference here.
Yeah, the interesting one here is, as we mentioned earlier, Eloise's overall lineup is actually sort of all of these regular deck styles and archetypes we've seen, but just a bit slower. So maybe versus the Cthulhu Druid, for example, it could actually be a benefit of her. One way to beat Cthulhu Druid a lot of the time is to go super quick before they can get all the taunts out. But if you can't quite manage it, they normally just win because their late turns are just better than yours a lot of the time. But, Eloise does appear to have the options with her Mage deck and even a Warlock deck as well, going heavy on like the Sea Giants, for example. You're going to be able to at least go a little bit more toe-for-toe in the late game versus the Druid deck.
And she's accumulating quite the lineup of people she's knocked out here as well. She's beaten Ecop, Life Coach, Hoy, and somebody else who will kill me for forgetting who it was. But yeah, she's defeated a whole bunch of really good players in this tournament so far. So Ball Control. Sorry,
yeah, so her opening group was Ostkaka, Ball Control, Life Coach, and Ecop. And, these matches happened yesterday, and she had a pretty good run. She beat Ball Control 3-1. She then went to beat Ecop 3-1. She beat Life Coach 3-2. She lost to Ostkaka, who actually finished first in the group, as we saw earlier in the bracket. So, only dropping a match to Ostkaka there isn't too bad when the rest of the lineup includes players like Life Coach.
Yeah, exactly. When your tournament is lose to the world champion, beat everybody else, you've had a good tournament for the most part.
Yeah, pretty much. And as we mentioned earlier, she is, as well as the rest of the players, only 1 victory away from qualifying, going straight to the True Silver Championship, which is the biggest LAN in the UK. There are many different games being played there, but Hearthstone is very swiftly becoming the centerpiece, with hosting a Swiss portion of the tournament, which will create the top 8 cut from Swiss. Are going to join the 7 qualified players from the Sacred Trial that we've seen over the last 2 days, and then obviously the previous champion, who is Torpedo Gaming's Ness. So as we mentioned, it's going to be a pretty stacked tournament overall, with a lot of pro players, even though the ones that haven't qualified through this tournament flying over to just play in the Swiss and pretty confident of getting more of those top 8 spots regardless.
Yeah, it's become one of the absolute premier events in the whole of the world, really. Like, players are willing to travel to this event now. $30,000 on the line, good format, the skillful format with the Swiss, then with the top 16, etc. So the good players getting all the way through. Obviously, there's going to be some invites this time, so it'll be a better tournament to watch as well. Just constantly improving the format so that people can go there and have a good time. People can go there and try to win. People can go there and watch. There's usually pros milling around for you to chat to. There's always somebody who wants to have a chat about how they just lost. And we'll talk to anybody who will listen. And there's areas where you can watch. And also, it will all be covered online, or at least the last 2 days will definitely be covered online with all these top players. So whatever it is that you like to see in Hearthstone, which we know isn't Talkstone, guys, as soon as the match starts, we'll be on the match. Whatever you like to see in Hearthstone, it's there. Whatever you like to see in gaming, it is also there. If you want to see some Hearthstone but want to take part in something else, do those things. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and we do have the rest of the games today are going to be streamed. So we're going to see Eloise versus Chakki, followed up by Sixo versus Dog, and then the losers game to decide that final spot. But who do you actually think is got like is favourable here from Eloise and Chakki as we get into the first game, which is the Warlock versus the Shaman?
I honestly think that Eloise might just be... This might be her time. I think that she's done really well in a lot of tournaments without ever really being noticed how well she's doing. I mean, Chakki, you cannot write Chakki off. He's one of the very best players in the world. But the way she's tearing through this field, honestly, I feel like maybe she just found a lineup that she's really comfortable with. It's working well for her, and I think this is her time to get into a big event.
Yeah, so we do see the beginning, as we mentioned, the Warlock versus the Shaman. Although Chakki's got a pretty key card in his opening hand up for this match, so generally not favoured for the Shaman. But if you can get a Lightning Storm off and clear that Zoo's board just once, and they can't refill it too quickly, then you definitely give yourself a really, really strong chance to take the game.
Yeah, and the Flame Wreath Faceless is another card that if you're going to beat Zoo, sometimes you just stick it behind the Fell Spirits and hit them for 7 a few times. There's not many 7s in 30. I'm not good at math, but there's definitely not many. And that is definitely another way that you can win the game. So he just choose to mulligan that away, obviously needing to get the board before the Faceless actually will stick. But yeah, that's one of the ways you'll win. And Eloise has this crazy turn 1 and 2 coming up now.
Yeah, it's definitely got all the options in the world with 4 1-drops and the coin for turn 1 as well. So imagine we are going to see 2 of the 1-drops here, more than likely Voidwalker and Argent Squire, as it gets the best combination of minions onto the board early on. And can follow up with the Abusive Sergeant, more than likely for the Argent Squire, to help deal with the potential of a Totem Golem coming out this turn.
Yeah, and the Sea Giant's one way to get around Lightning Storm. If you can get enough stuff down before that Lightning Storm happens, 8/8s do pretty well against Lightning Storm. So Chakki going to be keeping that to a minimum, though. Sea Giant shouldn't be coming down anytime soon. And he begins the process of just doing damage to the opponent's face to try and limit those life taps.
Let me see. Even more options now for Eloise. She picks up the perfect draw as the Flame Imp is going to enable her to play the Voidwalker and the Flame Imp this turn and not have to sort of almost like waste the Abusive Sergeant just to get it down, as you will want to more than likely trade the Argent Squire into the 2-1 and then keep it on the board there to continue. So looking pretty good for Eloise at the start, but as we mentioned, Chakki does have the almost like reset button of Lightning Storm to try and slow Eloise's start down. So Chakki's still looking in a reasonable position.
Yep, by no means over. I think people, when they hear a matchup is favoured, read way too much into that. Like, a matchup is favoured, maybe 60-40, maybe 65-35 if it's spectacular.
It's going crazy. We're into 65 favoured. That's nuts.
Yeah, and yeah, that means you lose 1 time in 3 at least with the favoured matchup, and often a lot more than that. So people tend to just think a game is over based on matchups. Matchups help, but so does playing really good Hearthstone. And Eloise is going to be all in here. She will just have the 1-3 that might survive a lightning storm, and I think Chakki's going to have to press the button now.
Yeah, this is probably just the needed lightning storm. You can imagine that if Totem Golem comes down, it is just going to die to that Flame Imp, and then continue for Eloise to pile on the pressure. So lightning storm is going to come down, and there's only the Voidwalker that has a chance of survival, but it doesn't, as Chakki manages to get the 3 roll on that one. So looking as good as it was going to get for Chakki, as Eloise follows up with a Councilman, which is not a terrible card to follow up one after you've seen the board clear.
It's not. She'll be obviously more unhappy than you would think to lose that 1-3. Even though it's only survived as a 1-1, everything in this matchup is crucial. Every little 1-1 on the board is such a massive thing, as I alluded to earlier. And she will be pretty disappointed to have lost that roll there. But she will have a chance to refuel. This is going to take out, with this Dark Iron Dwarf, is going to take out the Totem Golem.
Yeah, the +1 damage from the minion plus the +2 from the Dark Iron Dwarf is going to line up pretty well, remove it, and still have enough health to at least not instantly die to the Argent Squire. So we do see that Chakki actually now has a pretty good turn himself with the Argent Horse Rider and the Flame Tongue, allowing him to clear the board. And this is exactly what Chakki needs to do to win this game. You need to just demolish the zoo early on and then never let them get the board back.
Yeah, I was about to comment how he's in a world of trouble, but that Horse Rider's changed pretty much everything here. Going to allow him to have the board as well as clear, and things are going to survive. And Zoo doesn't clear things well if it doesn't have minions on the board, unless it's got a Knife Juggler.
Yeah, and we see like the Snap Live Tap into, again, not really the best combination of minions there. The Juggler might be able to snipe one of these 1 health minions, but if it hits anything else, it's a disaster. And Face is worst case scenario for once. Normally Face is the place, but not today. So Eloise's Juggle would have much rather have gone somewhere else this turn.
Yeah, Chakki rolling to see where he stands with the totem. He has to kill the Knife Juggler. It's just too dangerous. It'll be interesting to see if he takes down the Wolf as well. He probably will, and he does. And basically, again, just working on the principle that if Zoo doesn't have minions, they're kind of Zoo's removal cards. Sometimes people throw in a Mortal Coil or a Soulfire, but usually Zoo just works on the principle of, I'm going to buff my things and kill your things. And if you haven't got any things, you're in a world of pain, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, and Eloise forced to play the Sea Giant here, even though on board it dies. But we can see that the spell-powered Lava Burst actually makes this a really easy kill for Chakki if he wants to get rid of it. And I imagine he will, just because the Lava Burst makes this trade so easy. There's almost no reason not to.
Yeah, normally you don't want to be wasting that Lava Burst on simply killing a minion when you can go around the side, but as you say, it was such an easy kill that very little wasted there, and Chakki's still in a fantastic position, setting up a lethal, so it's not even cost him a turn on his clock.
Yeah, and we see the second Sea Giant's drawn. Maybe the drawback of playing this style of Zoo overall against a deck that's so quick, like Chakki's Shaman. You know, we see 2 Dark Iron Dwarfs, 2 Sea Giants, very sort of heavy end of Zoo, or more than normal at least. And Chakki does take the first win with his Shaman, and this is what we were talking about earlier in the form that, even though we've not seen too much of it today, Aggro Shaman can actually just sweep. It's one of the really strong overall decks, doesn't have too many weaknesses, and as we can see, even the weaker matchups are doable for the Shaman list.
Yeah, and that's the power of the Lightning Storm, but also the power of having Divine Shields and charge minions against Zoo. That Argent Horse Rider doing so much work, not just killing the minion, but surviving, which makes it's like double duty there, makes it so difficult for the Zoo to come back. And yeah, Chakki, unsurprisingly, playing an aggressive deck incredibly well. Flawless victory there, basically, from start to finish. And that makes it very difficult for Eloise. Now, that's a matchup that her lineup will be built to win that matchup, and now she's just decided that she doesn't want to play the mage. She wants to take on the slightly slower shaman versus the mirror, basically. And as we said earlier, the slightly slower one does have an advantage, but she's got a pretty awful looking hand here. She's going to have to do well on the mulligan.
Yeah, it's not looking too great in Eloise's open hand. She does have a Tuskar Totemic that can get a ridiculous sum of work done, but Chakki has pretty good open himself with the potential, as always, and as we've seen a lot of the games tonight, coining out those 2 1-drops.
Yep, and Chakki just spoiled for choice here. This is a good hand. We may see him I think we'll just see him get rid of the thing, but we may see him do something weird here as well, just to try and get an even better curve.
Yeah, maybe the idea that he doesn't potentially need the abusive too early on, but there's always the fear of a totem golem that you're going to need help clearing off from turn 2 onwards. So I don't know. I think the thing from below getting rid of seems to be fine if that's the line Chakki chooses to take with the mulligan here. Yeah, he does just get rid of it and get rocked by it. So now there's the early interactions in the Shaman Mirror where Argent's quiet early plus Rockbiter next turn just clears off Totem Golem, and your opponent's overloaded as well. So, that can be a really strong turn. But as we can see, Eloise doesn't actually have the Totem Golem, but she does have Lightning Storm as well as a couple of other 3-drops in the hand.
There aren't many hands for Hearthstone. They've got 6 cards in them that cost a total of 5 mana outside of Tavern Brawls. But this is one, and Chakki's often absolutely lightning. See what I'm thinking about. Often absolutely lightning start here, and literally that lightning storm is going to be Eloise's only real defense.
Yeah, and it's all about the timing as well. Sometimes you can try and just eke out a little bit more value from the storm by just taking 1 additional turn's worth of damage. But also sometimes that is too much damage and you can't afford to. But Chakki's starting off with the Finley as well, going for the Hunter Hero power and letting Eloise know he means business. And this game, it should end soon.
Yeah, and Eloise, most of her good options involve getting overloaded next turn, which is not a position you want to be in the mirror. Whoever overloads and doesn't make much from it, which I don't think she will, often finds themselves in a real mess. But that's a good role for her, set up that Lightning Storm potentially.
Yeah, there's a chance that Chakki will actually just trade into the totem to keep the board clear and start building up his own board. But he will be aware that Lightning Storm is a card in Eloise's deck, and she did actually keep the Lightning Storm, I believe, as well. So when your opponents kept cards and only totemed up on turn 2 and did nothing turn 1, you can kind of presume there's going to be a powerful 3-drop coming down.
Yeah, and do we think that Eloise has to Lightning Storm here straight away? I mean, it's only going to kill, on average, 2 of these minions. On average. It may not kill any, apart from the 2-1.
Yeah.
Her other option is what? Play the Horse Rider and do nothing? Or play Fell Spirits and not do much?
Yeah, I mean, there's even a small chance you could just go for the hero power and rock batter down the Trog, and just really reduce the potential power in the following turn, and then build up the Lightning Storm afterwards. Because what this does is it doesn't overload Eloise. She cashes in on the totem to lock in the additional reduction on the things from below. So I actually really like this play. You're only taking 4, right, this turn, and you have a totem on the board. So it's going to feel pretty okay so far.
Yeah, Chakki will know from the length of that turn that Eloise had multiple options there. So he'll probably be slightly careful here. I like the Fell Spirits here because it's careful. Worst case, next turn he just presses the hero power for 2 more damage. Best case, he uses the Rockbiter to kill something important. It seems like a good time to overload. And let's see how Eloise does on this roll.
Yeah, with the Fell Spirits really being the key here. And if she can even kill 1 of them. So, okay, 1 Fell Spirit, but Finley did live as well. So, very mediocre roll. Not terrible because 1 of the Fell Spirits died, but it could have been a lot better. Yeah. So Chakki's still in a reasonable position, pushing a lot of damage this turn, as you said, going for just the hero power, nothing else to do. And now double Lava Burst Rockbiter in hand for Chakki. That is one hell of a lot of damage.
Yep, 10 damage from hand if you assume the Rockbiter takes down a minion somewhere along the way, plus the hero power, plus he's on 30 life, so he should get 2 or 3 uses out of this Hunter power before he's even endangered himself. Eloise's Doomhammer also becomes worse because she won't be able to kill minions with it because of the damage it will give her. So Chakki looking in a good spot here. It's not over. Eloise has a pretty good hand going forward, but she urgently needs to... And she doesn't even know that she's facing that 10 damage. You can allow for some damage from hand, obviously, but she won't know quite the amount of trouble she might be in here. And Chakki's just clearing things up here and punching a bunch of damage to face.
Yeah, already seen 1 Lightning Storm, knowing you're feeling pretty safe with the board, so just guarding the minions, stacking up that damage, and as we said, hero power more than likely this turn, and then double Lava Burst coming out the gate next turn if there's no taunt minions played. But we can see that, especially with the draw of the Trog, Tunnel Trog into Feral Spirit looks like a pretty nice turn.
Yeah, Chakki will be setting up to win on at the latest turn 8, possibly even turn 7 here. I think he's going to be in a position where he just... Yeah.
Where he just does
says,
that. Haunts don't matter when I have Hunt Hero power and 2 Lava Bursts, as this sets up for a kill in the next turn, unless there's some crazy healing coming out of Eloise, but that is not the case, and a kill from 28 health seems a little bit too much of a stretch for Eloise at the moment, so she'll be fighting to stay alive this turn, as she can't just presume there's going to be a second Lava Burst, but we can see, obviously, with our infinite caster knowledge, that this game is over.
Yeah, and that's going to be 2-0 to Chakki. And as you said a few times today, the Shaman deck basically just capable of 3-0ing almost anything in this environment. And there's no point building a deck specifically, a lineup just to beat Shaman, because it's last hero standing. So it only has to lose once and it's gone. It's just a case of making it lose once that seems to be the problem.
Yeah. Eloise just going to put on as much damage as possible. Going to leave the 2 1/1s on the board just because she has to actually try and kill Chakki at some point. But as we said, we can see Chakki's lined this up perfectly. The Lava Burst and the hero power from the Hunter, or from Finley, should I say, is actually going to finish the game up pretty quick. And Chakki's looking pretty good so far, as Eloise has to fall back onto her mage and actually have to reverse sweep Chakki with it. And I don't know if that deck is going to be good enough, to be honest.
Well, it's done pretty well recently. Not this exact version, but Tempo Mage as an archetype has been doing pretty well across the board. So definitely not a forlorn hope, but I suspect if she does reverse sweep with it, we're in for some pretty exciting Hearthstone. Because when it does win, it usually wins explosively.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of style to this deck, and the guys aren't messing around as they both lock into the next game. And Eloise with a lot of spells in the opening hand, plus the Thanos for that really valued spell powers. We see Thanos becoming a bit of a standard in Tempo Mage nowadays, just because of the benefit of Arcane Blast, and then just the sheer volume of potential burst spells you're going to get anyway. And that spell power does come in pretty strong most of the time.
Yeah, and I was surprised when I played this deck how much the card draw really matters from that Thanos as well. This deck seems to rifle through the deck. Basically it does the obvious things that you can all see. It rifles through the deck, just casting spells, clearing the board, and drawing more cards, and keeps doing that. And obviously with all the benefits you say, plus the card draw, that's made Thanos almost a staple, which is somewhat surprising. But when you actually play through the deck, it turns out that it's a very key piece.
Yeah, and Eloise starting with approximately 15 damage just in the opening hand, although the Arcane Missiles would all have to go to face, so you can see just the volume of potential burn in this deck already, whereas Chakki, post-Mulligan, has the Argent Squire into the Totem Golem, so a pretty nice start for him, but Eloise has a flurry of potential answers going forward.
Yep, it's going to be a while before Chakki gets much damage through, that's for sure, and that should give Eloise time to get something on the board. Of course, one of the problems this deck does have, if you're playing the full-on Kabbalist Tome version, is you have to clear the board repeatedly, because not much of your stuff actually stands around for long, because you don't have many things on the board. Yeah,
Eloise just going to have to make the decision here as to whether an Arcane Missiles is even worth it, but with Flamewaker coin Arcane Missiles as a potential turn 3, he's going to decide to hold on and just let the Squire do squirey things early on and just poke away for 1 damage.
Yeah, you really don't want any of this damage to go to face if you can possibly help it this early on in the game. So at least 1 damage would go to face there, quite possibly 2. And so the best way is to just wait for your opponent to play yet another card and then get the most out of these missiles that you possibly can. And that's exactly what we see here from Eloise.
Yeah, Chakki just continuing to build at the board. No surprises all around there as the Totem Golem does come down. But this turn from Eloise looks like she's setting up for that Flamewaker coin Arcane Missiles and has a really good chance of clearing the board, actually.
Yeah, that's a really nice play there. Realising she doesn't need to do anything panicking. Obviously, with that Totem Golem being frozen, there's just no hurry to actually kill it. It's not going to hurt you, so why bother? And then next turn, as you say, she's going to have the Flamewaker, coin, Arcane Missiles, and that's got a ridiculously good chance of clearing the board. And if it doesn't, the chances are it'll leave a 1-1 or a 0-1 up.
Yeah, as long as the minions, as in the attacking potential minions, go down, then Eloise is going to be pretty happy here. The totem can be dealt with, and even if there's like a lightning bolt that comes out, Eloise has another Flamewaker into her Arcane Missiles if she really wants to after. Totem is left as a 0-1. But that doesn't change too much for Chakki, as he does need to try and kill this Flamewaker probably this turn, but there's no nice way to actually do it.
Yeah, many ways of killing it, but like you say, no nice way. 1 mana short of the way he wants to do it, which is the Horse Rider plus the Flame Tongue Totem. And so with that Doomhammer, though, he'll probably be not that worried. He'll probably not mind too much this being a bad turn. The problem is that he wants to keep the Doomhammer with the Rockbiter, and he can't do that because the other clears involve overloading with the Lava Burst. And yeah, he's not going to be happy with how this works.
Yeah, Chakki's got a couple of options here. It looks like he's thinking of favouring the Lava Burst, as it means he still has plays the following turn. Although those plays won't be Doomhammer, because he will obviously be overloaded, as he said. It might just be the best option. Like Lava Burst is relatively clean in comparison to the other options, but nope, Chakki's going to go for the Flame Tongue, enable him not to be overloaded next turn, and open up the possibility of Doomhammer.
Yep, and Eloise here has options as always. I keep saying how much these players like the options, but that's because they do. She's going with the Arcane Missiles. This will kill the totem a lot of the time, and it's not a total... Yep. Well, yeah, she just doesn't miss.
Arcane Missiles kills the totem by itself sometimes as well, so that's definitely a fun one to watch.
And as it happens, it needed to on this occasion because of the Horse Rider. But normally it wouldn't be too dangerous if the totem had lived anyway. But on this occasion, she needed it to hit, and it did. And again, this deck is all about playing the percentages and making sure that basically you keep all of the minions dead, but you have to take a few chances to do that.
Yeah, and Chakki actually favouring now the Horse Rider with the second Flame Tongue to clear off this Flame Waker very easily, and just still enabling the Doomhammer. You know, if you Doomhammer, then his following turn wouldn't be too great, and Doomhammer means he does still kill the Flame Waker, but takes 4 damage, and actually doesn't develop anything onto the board. So I actually like this play. Eloise comes out with the ping onto the Ardent Horse Rider, but a second Rockbiter weapon is going to look pretty interesting now.
Yeah, starts to do a lot of damage very quickly, but so that's 15 damage in 1 turn in hand if you wanted to Rockbiter and Lava Burst with the Doomhammer up. But that still leaves quite a lot of damage to find from other sources. Obviously, the recursive damage, the Doomhammer, is important. But at this point also, Eloise does start getting to the point where she can start to get aboard with this Azure Drake. And 12 damage from Fireballs in hand is probably going to end up going face. So Chakki needs to find a way to speed this clock up a little bit.
Yeah, and there's Saul's favourite card in the Kabbalist Tome. But not going to be played yet, of course, as getting the Drake onto the board is pretty important to at least give Chakki the consideration of whether he needs to put Doomhammer into it or whether he wants to let it run free, or if there's another answer potentially. Looks like because of that Flame Wreath Faceless now, the Rockbiter killed the Drake with 1 swing, smack Eloise in the face with the other, and then follow up with the Flame Wreath Faceless to really put a high pressure minion onto the board.
Yep, massive minion. It's just going to get shot down by a Fireball though. And a lot of Chakki's damage has started to be used up over the last couple of turns in keeping this board clear. And he's going to need 1 or 2 decent draws here. He's probably got 2 turns with which to put something good on the board, or Eloise is going to start taking control of this game.
Yeah, and you know what? Feral Spirit is a pretty good option. You can Feral Spirit and Hero Power as well, as I don't think the Lava Burst is particularly required at the moment. But just get the Wrath of Air Totem to be able to start to stack up that spell damage and maybe just, do a bit of extra cheeky burst.
Yep, so I think we'll see Eloise probably have to cast Arcane Intellect here. The Kabbalist Tome might be too slow. She'll want an immediate thing to put on the board, a minion to put on the board, and that is a good draw.
Yeah,
now she can have a lot of options.
Yeah, so options there for Eloise. She can go for the Arcane Intellect, draws 2 cards, and it's only 2 mana, so the odds are she definitely have something else to do with the rest of the turn. Gonna go for the Tome as well, so really just refill her hand, and 2 Cone of Colds. Gonna help going forward, and maybe even just help towards getting towards that Yogg turn as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if she needs it at this rate as well. With double Fireball in hand and your opponent on 19, there are definitely options available to you for winning the game, depending, obviously, what you draw. The chances are she'll use those to crowd control, but she may sneakily, like, Cone of Cold plus Fireball the opponent, and then maybe rely on Yogg to do the last little bit of damage. And we could see a Yogg with both players low on life, but it looks like Chakki's just managed to squeak through enough damage here.
Yep, it's going to be a Going to be a tough one, as I think now the Cone of Cold almost certainly has to come down. And Mirror Image is going to help as well. So there can be Cone of Cold, Fireball, Mirror Image this turn, and then just hope there's no spell damage coming out from Chakki, because let's be honest, there's not a lot Eloise can do unless there's the Kabbalist Tome into Ice Block, for example.
So she has 9 mana. She could Cone of Cold the 2 Fell Spirits and hope nothing goes wrong. That seems dangerous. And that would have allowed her to Kabbalist Tome into, like you say, an Ice Block or an Ice Barrier or something like that. And if she's doing this stalling, she's probably thinking Yogg, which would be exciting with her on 3 life.
Yeah, I think that's just got to be the play. And if you're going to Yogg next turn, you definitely play Mirror Image. Mirror Image, you can ping off one of the totems if you want. You can ping off the Flame Tongue totem or one of the dogs to stop negate the heal potential from the healing totem there to guard the minions up. But you just get in all the spells you can and say, Yogg, do your thing.
Yogg, do your thing indeed.
But Chakki can still just draw a spell to win the game, but we see it's actually Thing from Below, so can't really do too much this turn. I actually don't know how many spells like Direct Burn Chakki has left, but it is just going to be the Hero Power Golem and into the Thing from Below. Just fill up the board, give him the highest chance possible of winning next turn, but now I know it's your favourite moment of all time, Lorinda.
Is it definitely now, or does she do other things for one more turn first?
So the problem is with waiting. If you're planning on playing Yogg, yes, you give yourself more spell options, but you give yourself Chakki. You give Chakki one more turn to just draw a damage spell, right? And on 3, you're actually just dead to everything. So it's going to be a tough call for Eloise. I definitely do respect the play of just trying to stall out for one more turn, cycling to as much as possible, because Eloise does play an Ice Block in this deck, I believe. So, there is a chance that she can just extend the turn again if she draws it with Arcane Intellect.
Cone's going to kill a lot of things because of the spell damage as well.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the Frost Nova, and Eloise deciding that's going to be enough for one turn, and just hoping that Chakki doesn't draw any more burn.
So if he doesn't draw anything, I think we're all hoping to see this Yogg, even me, but we're not going to.
Lightning Bolt's going to finish the game and knock Eloise into the lower bracket. So she has to one more chance to go for that win to get one of the remaining invite spots into the True Silver Championship, but Chakki has just booked his spot there to join the likes of Firebat, Oskaka, Naaman, and Gara. So he's going to be pretty happy with that. And we're going to see Chakki at a UK event, so that's going to be nice to see. I
look forward to seeing that there. I think he's one of the great characters in the game. I think that everywhere he goes, I think people all like listening to what he has to say. I like watching his style of play as well, because it's not all just brutal, go to the face. He often builds the lineups. I mean, he did well with Priest at DreamHack of all classes. So,
yeah, one of the things Chakki's actually said a lot of the times is he was put in the category of being an aggro player, and that's it for the longest time. But actually, Chakki's 100% just says, I actually just play the decks I think are the best. Yeah. And for a long time, yes, aggro was the way to go. But then we saw DreamHack, where I believe he was playing like N'Zoth, Paladin, and Priest. Yep. So he's very, very capable player, and definitely performing well and on fire at the moment. We do bring up the bracket just quickly for you guys. There is only obviously a 1-game change going on, so we see Chakki has booked his spot alongside the other guys from the group winners, and Eloise is in the lower bracket. She has one more chance to battle either Dog or Six, so whoever loses the match coming up is going to play Eloise for the final spot, whereas the winner of Dog and Zixo is going to join Chakki and the others into the qualified players for the True Silver Championship at the end of August. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be going to a very short break as we start the next game, which is going to be Zixo and Dog. But before then, stick around.